We are back. Episode 17.
Yeah, we're here.
Yay.
It's a long day.
Yeah. We have our special guest, Alex Bedrin.
17's a good episode.
Thank you for joining us.
It's going to be the best
Thanks
episode,
for
they say.
having me.
Yeah. So we'd like to kind of get a little bit backstory about you, because you're kind of a nomad, kind of all over the place. You've traveled all over the world. You've done some interesting jobs. You play some music. You've worked with us. That's how we know you. So we came across you.
It's funny because, like, when we first met you, like just where we work can be kind of chaotic and stuff. I'm like, this guy's fucking calm as hell. I'm like, I don't get it. Like, 'cause most people stress out. Like the other guy that also does did your job the other half of the week was just always like frazzled and stuff. I'm like, Alex is just a cool, calm, collected guy. And then I found out that you're like the fucking Hurt Locker and like defuse bombs. Like, well, no fucking wonder, dude. Like, you have zero like chance of blowing yourself up, mixing cocktails and stuff.
Well, it's really easy to look calm when you have no idea what you're doing. So you just kind of like air it out. But no, yeah, it's tough to put a tagline on where I'm at now.
Yeah.
I wish there was like something that was like, hey, here's the flavor of the month. But it's kind of like the jack of all trades, master of none, which has been a lot of fun. But with that comes like, you're just kind of out there like a fart in the wind, going wherever. And
There's always another trade you can get into, though. That's the thing.
yeah, no, that's true. But it's fun kind of just seeing where life takes you. And the more I look back at like my resume, it like stresses me out. I'm like, oh shit.
I would
I have
imagine
to pitch it to someone.
I mean, it's got to look really impressive, though, because you've had so many different experiences, so many different jobs. I guess, is that how you got into the military? Was it kind of like, well, I don't know, let's just see where this goes and like kind of get into that? Or did you have like family that was, in the past that was in military service, and then that they kind of, mentored you to get into that? Or how did you start in that? Or how did you even get exposed to that kind of entry?
I think like from the start, it was just kind of roll with it. Because when I went in, like I went into college, I didn't even know if I wanted to go to college. And that's a whole other conversation. It's just one like you follow the societal path, and then 5 years later, it's like that degree is like meaningless. But
dude, it's funny you say that, because like you do kind of get pushed into that thing, and like we just put our kid in like actual school, right? So it's like. And it's weird because I do kind of feel like he's like indoctrinated in that, like, Monday through Friday, you got to be somewhere 5 days a week type shit. I'm like, that's crazy. Like, you just start, he's like 4 years old and like his freedom's already gone. Like, he's gonna be doing that the rest of your life. And like, he was kind of sad, like, going into school originally. I'm like, don't worry about it. You only got 14 more years left. And then you're finally out of high school, let alone if you got to go to college and shit. But like, after that, you're going to be working some kind of, 5 day a week grind, man. And
seriously,
when you don't have like, just going through the mandatory school is one thing. But once you get thrown into that system of like, pick a college, because you're going to be spending like, $250,000 on college, which is crazy, dude, just to get swindled into some kind of price tag like that.
Yeah. And so that's really where like me joining the Army came from. I went into college, and when I started, like got student loans, and fortunately I went in not having a scholarship. So I ended up getting one through ROTC in the Army, which is crazy that that's not even a given. Like you could still go in and they wouldn't pay for it, which is like,
that's crazy.
Crazy. But I looked at the bill and I was like, absolutely not. Like I have no idea. It was almost like too big to really grasp and understand at that stage. Yeah. Now it's a little more manageable, but like to take on that debt would have been like, and it's like for what? So I went in with mechanical engineering and then just realized I'm terrible at math and switched it up to international politics to go learn Russian, and they sent me to Russia twice, and it was like incredible. I don't know if you ever heard Bert Kreischer's The Machine.
Yeah.
Not to that level, but that's kind of what like Russia for me was. You just go and it's like you'll find yourself like out at a club till 7 a.m. You're like, oh shit, that got out of hand.
Yeah,
but it's like in the best way possible.
Awesome.
Also, too, like the architecture. I mean, it seems like it's just kind of like dwarfing. Like, you know what I mean? There's a whole bunch of crazy ass shit in Russia. Like,
I was in like Soviet bloc apartments. I had one of the like neighbors who was a friend would be out there cleaning his AK, and it was like, but it's like when you're
It's kind of like down south how they're like very like open with guns and like, yeah, just hanging out with my gun and cleaning it. It's like that.
Yeah.
But Russia, it's like the Russian version of that.
But when you're on the inside, like as a white dude with more or less a Russian name, like Alexander Bedrin, they would be like, oh, are you Russian? Like, no. But like going and taking the gypsy cabs. I don't even know if that's politically correct, but that's what they call them. And
their word, not mine. Yeah.
You just go up and be like, I need to get here. And the guy would be like, 20 rubles. They're like, let's roll. It's like, oh, that never fly in America. There'd be people getting stabbed left and right. And like, maybe it happened, but you never heard about it.
Yeah.
Or you didn't care. You talk to your, like the host family I was with, who was more or less like our age and like not strict.
How old were you at this time?
I was, first time would have been 19. Second time would have been 20, like newly 21.
Damn. So you're like super young during all that.
Yeah, that's a big experience.
Especially as 19 and you go there and people have been drinking for years and it's like, let's go.
Yeah.
It was wild. But yeah, it's kind of like America, just like rough around all the edges. Like anything that would be like nice, prim, proper, almost like too regulated in America would be like, you could just do that and be like, just go. But
is there like a lot of like, do you feel the government is there? Like, is there like a government presence kind of always? Or like, hey, don't talk about this. Or like, you're the American kid. So like, let's kind of keep him away from this area. Or like, you know, don't go
we
here.
had like, cause I was with other people and I guess someone went out on a run, which I don't know why he would choose to do that, but he went out on a run and like rolled across this like helicopter base and got picked up by an unmarked car and just like dropped off 10 miles away and had to call. So he's like, I have no idea what just happened. But I was handcuffed in a car.
What?
And no one told me what was going on. And I was there the second time they had the Universiada, which is like the student Olympic games. Big deal in Europe. America doesn't really give a shit, which, you know, whatever.
Yeah. We don't know what you're talking about right now.
I know.
That's how much of a deal it was.
But there was like groups outside protesting Putin and you couldn't help but look and be like, are they gonna like make it home tonight?
Yeah,
I had no idea. Like that was real.
And that was when you were 20 when that was going down?
Yeah, in between 19 and 20.
So like the Putin regime was still like kind of like, don't fucking say his name, don't cross him, don't like.
And then like the younger generation cared, but you ask the older people and we'd be there. It's like, because he was just reelected and we'd be posing questions like, do you think he actually got reelected? Like he had to just force his way in. They'd be like, he's a good leader. And I was like, okay. I mean, you're whatever just semblance of a say you have is just dwindling away. And
right.
It's, like, it's good this way. I was like, okay.
So you were there for how long in total?
It was only like both times were like 3, 4, or 5 month stints. So
okay,
like,
wow, that's a significant amount of time though.
Yeah, that's like not a short amount for sure.
I was like 3, 4, 5 days.
No, it was good. It was like such a weird experience, especially looking back on it, because I left both times like longing, like I want to go back. I have to make plans, but also like get off the plane like I could kiss the ground in America. So it was like that weird dichotomy. But I would love to go back. It was some of the admin stuff that was done for me made it really easy. But
but you also at that point in time, how much Russian did you speak?
The first time enough to get by and like take the metro and go out. The second time enough to like hit on girls and stuff, which was that made it all the more fun.
Yeah,
that's incredibly like.
I'd be scared to hit on any chick in Russia just for the sake it's the wrong chick. Next thing you know, you're like in an icebox somewhere.
It's like super impressive though. You're that young and you like picked up Russian, which is like not an easy language. Even to listen to, it's like hard. You're like, what?
Nail on chalkboard.
I have a lot of Russian immigrants that live in my building, and I'm like, man, that is seems like it'd be like the hardest language to like get a grasp on.
It is. We're kind of in a Russian area because I'm just down the block. Like half my neighbors are Russian. It's weird, or Ukrainian. Or
our
something.
old building, Eric's building, was all Russian when we first moved in there. We were the first like Americans that moved in there, and it was kind of like taboo. Like, oh, and they only like really liked us because of the fact that they thought I was Russian and stuff. And they're like.
Yeah, Tony looks Russian.
Yeah. My neighbor, Yuri, Gloria's talked to him. I haven't, but like doors open, cigarettes rolling at 6 a.m. He'll have his buddies over on Sunday night with a bottle of Stoli, or I don't know what they're drinking now.
Stoli tonight.
But you'll just hear like the rasp. He's like, Soga blood. And you're just like bitch and horror rolling. And he's just like, I don't even know. Hearing his voice hurts.
Yeah.
Like it just hurts my throat and I'm not even talking.
Clear your own
Yeah.
throat from your name.
But like those people, they're like kind of like the salt of the earth people. I know when I was over there, it's kind of like that stone cold Russian demeanor of just walking around. But like as soon as you talk to them, and my experience was like, if you tried to speak their language, they would be like, oh, wait, you know Russian? It's like, yeah, that's why I'm here to learn it.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, all right, what are you doing? Let's go rip shots
Yeah.
right now. And be like, oh, hell yeah, this is great.
Yeah, that like you're putting forth that effort to like understand their
Yeah.
culture, their language and stuff. So you were there for probably a total of almost a year combined with those
Yeah.
two experiences. And then you're shipped back to where? Like where do you go back to in the military, and where do you start your career as far as like your hurt locker guy?
Yeah.
And like how did you even get into that, or like decide like I want to defuse bombs and I want to get into that? Or is it like something that they're like, hey,
So obviously
we
not a lot of math involved in that, huh?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Like-
way less than I thought. But
Yeah.
so that was both while I was in college. So I just went back. The last time I had a semester left, so I went back and just finished it out. The Army is so stupid because like you sign up to volunteer, but there's a phrase that gets thrown around like needs of the Army. And really once you like sign up, you're at their whim.
yeah.
So it's like you go in with this, I want to do that. And they're like, cool. Yeah, totally. Let's go. Come look. This is so sick. That's awesome. We have that. And then you sign the paper and they're like, but you're not going to do that. So I had to like fight tooth and nail to get EOD or bomb squad. And it's like this whole stupid selection process where you have to like, you apply and you're sitting there and you get some old dude who is in Kentucky that manages like 500 people. That's just like, yep, you, not you. It makes no sense. But so I was fortunate to get it. And then you go down, and each branch is different. Like the Navy's is pretty hardcore because they're kind of with the SEALs, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But you go down to Virginia for just some admin stuff. And then the cool thing from the military side is like all branches go to the same school
Oh, really?
down on the beach in Florida. Well, yeah, that's kind of like a ticking time bomb for people going out and getting
I would
DUIs
imagine.
and stuff because you're in Destin
Yeah.
and you have a bunch of like junior enlisted and officers and you're all kind of one team.
Yeah.
They're all
coming-
about the same age at this point, like, or is it different ages
more
too?
or less. There's like some older, more seasoned, like enlisted people that have seen some shit, but for the most part, you're like kind of the same age.
Yeah. So you're what, like 22 then? 23?
Yeah, 22, 23, something
Yeah.
like that. And you're down there on the beach in Florida, just like for the better part of a year, just like in school learning. And it's tough the way they like weed you out, like physically demanding, not so much. Sometimes they put you through it, but it was more like on the academic side.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, especially in today's day and age, like if you failed twice, you were out.
Really?
Which is like even for some people too much failure.
I would have no problem joining the Army. They would never accept me.
Rustler, you failed again.
Yeah.
No, but it's like it was just weird you had so many people who were hemmed up, like failed twice and like, all right, you're gone. And they're like, well, no, you're like, you can't actually do that. I'm like, yeah, you can. It's like that they
So
didn't
you
believe
get kicked out of the program, but you're still in the system though. You're not like,
you
you're
go
not free
back to
yeah.
like it's shitty because in the Army it's for whatever reason wrapped up under maintenance. So it's like you go in with this glorified like I'm going to dispose bombs and then you don't make it. It's like you're a mechanic now. It's like, oh shit, that
Oh, really?
kind of
That's hilarious.
So how
That
did
sucks.
you decide on choosing that path as far as like doing the whole diffusing bombs and stuff? Because I feel like pretty much everybody would be like, that'd be the last thing that you'd want to do. What was your interest and what got you on that like kind of path?
Yeah, it was a little more technical while still being like, while I was going through the process, I realized like I didn't want to be the big Army and go out and like, it's so bureaucratic. And like EOD was this niche thing that like you didn't actually have to play by the rules and you were your own like tight knit thing. And yeah, going out and like doing your first demo shot when you get to see it and actually like setting it up and you don't pull the trigger, but setting it off, you're just like, fuck yeah, that's awesome. It's like a real like American patriotic moment where you're just like, hell yeah, somebody crack a beer right now.
Yeah.
Get the grill rolling. This is meant to be. And
so not only did you like diffuse them, but you also built bombs too.
Yeah, that was a cool thing. You got to build charges. You got to like,
Oh, shit.
it got really creative. There was like a lot of safety involved, but like building charges, going out, doing shots. It was like really scrappy business and really cool to see.
Did you use like C4 and all that shit?
Yeah, C4, data sheet, TNT,
No way.
dynamite. There were some really cool things with water and like water with like
underwater explosions. And
if you
and
take
stuff.
like one of the charges, you just wrap a thing of det cord, which is just like explosive cord, just tie a knot and put it in a water bottle, and it would like fuck everything up.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's its whole science, and it was fun to be in. And like, disclaimer here for anyone listening, like I didn't do any like live action combat deployment. I can't even imagine. Like you get some like homeland response stuff where you have to go out to the ranges or help local law enforcement with like a pipe bomb or something, which is cool. And like seeing that where it's like, holy shit, everything I learned, like this could actually kill me. I can't even imagine doing something where it's intended to kill you. Like somebody built it trying, like knowing that you're going to go down there and try to defuse it, like that shit. So there were people infinitely more badass than I, but just being in the field and working with people was a lot of fun.
Like, is that how did you like? Did you see somebody else or know somebody else that like was involved in that, and you're like, oh, that seems like something I'd be interested in, or like are you all kind of put through like a bunch of different like kind of like a smorgasbord of different avenues you can take, like, oh, a sniper or a defuse bomb guy, or more technical side, or this, like, and then kind of like, oh, this is kind of like my niche, or this is something I kind of feel.
Yeah, you do. It's like a career fair. It's just like anything else. Okay, but it also is like word of mouth and who you know. And I ended up during like that time where we would put in like, hey, where do you want to go, or where do you want to apply to go? I had a friend who was prior enlisted and was in EOD. So like hearing his stories about all the shit that would go on, I'm like, oh, this is for me. This is like cool as shit. And everything else just seemed really boring. Yeah. Cause like I know being in a tank would be fun, like especially pulling the trigger, like that'd be awesome. But like then you go in a tank and it's like claustrophobia.
No
like
way, dude.
Crazy. I'm like, no.
That are like submarines and stuff, and it's just like, would fucking
no
wig
way.
out like the first day, first hour. Like
it's that's funny because like I was originally in the Navy program in college because I had dreams coming in to be a SEAL, and I was like, I'm gonna be a Navy SEAL, and then it's a cop out because like I never ended up trying. But when you weigh like, how I 1% or probably even less of the people that try even like get it, and the other options were like stuck on a ship or stuck on a sub, I was like, oh no, absolutely for real, not. Like that's.
But either way, I mean, I don't even think like if you did land being a Navy SEAL, like again, those like, dude, you're probably crammed in some shit too. You sound like you're just like walking around like, tall, proud fucking Navy SEAL. Like they got you, going into the cover of darkness and shit. Like, God, yeah.
Did you interact with Navy SEALs in your time, like being over there?
Only a few SEALs. I did. I worked with the Green Berets, so like that's
kind of like the Army equivalent. Like
some people might differ and say that Navy SEALs are more badass, but the Army dudes are pretty cool. I think they're pretty comparable. But yeah, I went on a quote unquote deployment to South Korea. There's no fight going on there, but with the Green Berets, which is really cool. And those were dudes that like, you get some like, you kind of see what leads to being that. Cause you have some like collegiate All-American, like, this was what I was bred to do. I was a born leader. And then you get like fucked up, like no parents, in and out of jail, somehow made it in the Army. Like, the dude's blowing coke every 5 minutes, but somehow he's passing drug tests.
Right.
And he's just like killing it. And you get those two types of people working together. And it's like, where else would this be?
Like, do you think you would have been able to become a SEAL or like a beret, a Green Beret? Like, it is like the level of difficulty. Is it that big of a gap to like you know, is it like really, really like how elite, I guess, is the gap? Like, you know, like you're a pretty athletic guy and like like I would imagine like you'd be able to do it, but it like in your eyes, or you're like, oh, if I really tried, I could get it. Or is it like in your own eyes, you're like, even if I tried my hardest, it'd still be like super, super hard.
Yeah. It'd be very hard regardless, I think. And I actually had like, you put in a packet for the officer side of things. You have to wait until like the 3-year mark before you could even apply.
Oh,
they
wow.
don't take junior officers. They have no need for them.
Yeah.
So I applied, I put in the packet, and I got accepted to go to selection. Like the way it works, you have to go to selection for 10 days to get selected to even go in the pipeline. And then that's over a year of training.
Wow.
I think like I'm confident I could have been competitive on the physical side, but I think anybody that goes in and says like, oh yeah, I could have done it is lying, and they're just a fool. Cause like the whole point of it is to break you mentally.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't do it, but I have, you know, plenty of friends who did. And you hear the story of their Robin Sage is I don't know if it's equivalent, but like you hear Navy SEALs, Buds, and Hell Week. Robin Sage is kind of like that for the Green Berets. That's their like counterinsurgency training, where they get like dropped off, like captured behind enemy lines type scenario, and they get just like the shit kicked out of them. They literally like will get waterboarded and tortured and have to kill like chickens they have to capture to eat. It's like the training you want our people to go through that are doing that, but it's you like hear the stories. And just being in some of those situations, like the physical part's hard enough.
Right.
Like to then have the mental aspect of like, what fucking life decisions did I make to end up here? Like, I'm an idiot.
Plus, like once you get out of the service, like it's hard to rewire that like mentality where you're just like ripping chickens' heads off and stuff like that. Like that's like you're a changed person. You know what I mean? Like your fucking whole diagnostics are different now.
Yeah. I worked with a dude, and like I never saw much, like I didn't do anything crazy. I don't have PTSD. I don't have like really anything that the Army did wrong to me. Some of the dudes I worked with, you could see were like, yo, you are on edge. You need to chill. And then you like go through his history, and like back in the Iraq war, it's like a 3-year period. The dude was home for like 3 months. You're like, that's 3 years. And you were in Iraq for that long. And it's like back to back to back doing bomb disposal. It's like, it's not like an easy thing.
Yeah.
There was a dude, Green Beret I was deployed with, awesome guy. And like, I showed up in country with him, and I look in his room, and he had close to like 30 handles, like the 1.75 liters of Jim Beam emptied on his wall. And I was like, the fuck, like how much work you putting in? That's like, that's impressive. Past impressive. That's scary. And then he starts telling stories, and he's just like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. He's like, with him on a mission, and he got blown up, and I was holding him there with no legs, and somebody was trying to patch him up, and he died in my arms. And you're just like, what the fuck, dude? Now I get it. I see
each one of those bottles of duty lost.
And
man,
like sometimes
crazy.
he would break and talk about his wife who is home, and he's like start like punching the wall. He's like, I just fucking love her so much. And you're like, all right, I'm gonna back out of here slowly.
I would imagine that's got to be like a very common kind of like reaction to all those experiences where they're so traumatic, and then you're not taken out of those scenarios. You're like thrown back into it, like seeing it, you know, like over and over and over. Like you're in this weird, vicious cycle.
Seriously.
Know?
So like I don't have it, but I can't imagine like that guy trying to enter like the real world or having a job, like thinking of him working at and then one of the customers one day is like, is that bun gluten free, and just like wanted to punch like their lights out, like can't see it.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's got to be just extremely hard to live any kind of normalcy after experiencing all that. And I wouldn't expect anybody to be able to be honest. Like
that's why you see those movies being made. Like I'm sure that's a whole other fight, is like when you get home, how do you deal with, I mean, I've had a tough enough time, nothing to do with the Army, just like trying to find my place and what I want to do and fit, and like having that whole other thing, and looking back on a period of your life where it's like, oh, I really mattered then, and I was afforded all this responsibility to then have someone in corporate HR. You know, like today you're sitting through sensitivity training, which you do in the Army, but it's still like, why does any of that matter?
Right. It's like, this is all bullshit.
Yeah.
So you were in the military for how many years until I
was only in for like 5 years. It was that, like, I was going to apply to special forces, and that was like my decision point, but it was, if I went through with it, it would have been like a year and a half, 2 years of training, then 4+ years of like dedication to my job, getting moved all over the place. Meanwhile, my wife Gloria was also getting out, and she didn't want to just like follow me around doing who knows what. So we just made the decision. We were like, this was fun. Like I had my fun. I don't want to move into like Army middle management, which is exactly what it sounds like, and just bureaucratic. So we got out and we're just like, let's tackle this corporate life, or just life in general, and see what money's out there.
And then how did you guys so where did you move to after you got out? Were you in California right away, or did you move to a different state?
We were up in Seattle for a little bit, and I did something I now regret because it was very unlike me, but worked for Amazon. Very fun. Corporate tech. And we were under this impression like, hey, you go out, we're going to wear a suit. I don't care. Like, there's so much money to be made, and it's going to be so much fun. And we did that for like 6 months before it started getting like, this is pretty dumb. This is, there's only like, we were talking the other day, there's only so many times I could read an email like, happy Monday, I hope this email finds you well. Like, insert all the corporate shenanigans that just like, people have years of pent up aggression over. That's a whole other form of PTSD. Per my last email, and like you just start to like, this is so stupid. I don't want to play this game. So we spent another 6 months just being like frustrated, especially when COVID happened. Like, you're in your house, just like all hopped up on the like third cup of coffee, just sitting there like jacked, ready to go, and then somebody sends me an email, and I'm just like screaming like, fuck you, Andrew, fuck you, and then like having to answer like respectfully, Alex Bedrin. But we only did that for a year, and we're like, we have to do something else. And that's what we actually took a trip for Gloria's birthday down to San Diego, and we were walking on the beach stoned as hell, and we're just like why don't we just do like what we want? And I was talking to Gloria, and she's like, I want to act. And I was like, there we go. So that was like her decision, which kind of sparked it all. And that was for me, like, I wanted to play music at the time, and we just kind of like threw everything we had up in the air. I started bartending. She started working at a restaurant and getting her stuff together for acting, and that's what brought us to LA, as I'm sure like most of the city. It's kind of what sparked it, was just doing tech for a little bit, and like, props to anybody who does it. I have plenty of friends who are crushing it, making killer money, and like having fun with it, but like I wasn't able to. My 9 to 5 just sucked so much out of me that
office jobs are that is just too soul sucking for me. And then there's just like the meetings about meetings and stuff. Like, I've had like about a year worth of office work and stuff, and like we used to have a manager that's like a year older than us, and we just middle of the day, work's piling up my desk, like, hey, let's talk about efficiency. I'm like, how about we just fucking be efficient? Like, I already got shit I got to do right now, man. I don't have time to talk about what I'm going to do. Like, just do the work. And that's why I got my like cliche serving job, because I was like, the pay was way better the first serving job I had than I was making working out in Calabasas, and I was spending all this time driving. My commute was forever too, and that's the other thing. So
right before I came here, Gloria was working, and she was like bitching about something. I went in the other room, and I was like, what is going on? She's like, I have a meeting for a meeting tomorrow that's about a meeting. Literally what you just said. And I was like, that can't be real. Like, why are you doing it?
That can't be real.
She was explaining to me, I'm like, you need to say no.
Yeah.
But like that happens.
That's got to be like the hardest thing though for most people though, that you had like the courage to do was you stepped away from, you know, a good paying job and somewhat of stability and saying like, hey, there's more to life than just doing this, especially if you're not happy. And I think a lot of people will just kind of like just keep grinding it out and just be like, whatever, the money's good and I'll just keep doing something I'm miserable at. And then it turns into like, you know, 40 years of their life and they're like, shit. And then they're kind of like reintroduced to that same question that you both faced. And I feel a lot of people that are out here are faced with like, what do I want to do with my life? Like, what do I really want to do?
Yeah.
You know, like that's still, I think, a question that even to this day, I think about that all the time. Like, what do I really want to do? Like, do I really, you know, do I want to work a 9 to 5 anymore? Do I want to just jump in my truck and travel the country and just like see what happens?
Yeah,
and
you and me both. That's like still so alluring to me. Is just like, it's just van life.
Yeah, this just exploring and seeing different little places, little towns, going different you know, parks and climbing different mountains and just seeing the country for what it is and learning about it and not you know, not being like just stuck in one little place. Even though I love California, I love LA, but you can only learn so much in where you live and in your own state. But I think to really like get a better grasp of the country, you have to really go to those places. You have to talk to everybody. You have to like just see new stuff and experience new stuff. And
it's hard to like put a label on a lot of that. And that's something. So, you know, we had talked before, like I originally wanted to do music and I worked at a studio. Shout out Robert Lang Studio, Seattle. Great place. Go record your music there. It was awesome. Great seeing that side. But the more I just loved drinking beers with friends, playing music. Like when it came time to like, all right, I need to write a song. And then, thinking about putting an album and then like just trying to find having everyone on the same page. Like, guys, we're both all in. You're all in on this, right? You're all in.
Yeah.
And then the singer inevitably is like, oh no, dude, I'm just doing this. Like, well, what the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah.
So it's so frustrating. And so like, that's what brought me out here originally. And that's where I was like going out, was auditioning for a folk band, which I was like, I don't want to do this. And then the next group of guys I met up with were like, just game planning, like what type of music could we make that's popular? And I was like, that's not I thought the question was like, what do you like? Why don't we just play that? And it's like, well, no, that isn't the question.
Yeah.
So I'm in a weird spot now. I actually, from the last time we talked, got a new job that I'm super stoked on.
Cool.
I was working in the spirits industry, but I'm like trying to take like the Anthony Bourdain approach to life. So I'm working for a mezcal company now.
Okay.
And it's like brand new, doing some cool things. Obviously it's made down in Mexico, but like where it's at, like, yeah, it's a company. So somebody else is paying me, not just like making money on my own. But like I get to just go out and be me. Yeah. And like I think the product is great. The mission that they stand for is awesome. And I just get to go out and like talk to people. And that's where like when you ask, what do I want to do? You're just drawn to labels like accounting, marketing, sales. Yeah. This one, someone's out there probably like, you dumb motherfucker, that is sales. But like, no, this one's fun. And it's just getting the chance to go out and experience culture and other people and just having conversations and like getting both the down and dirty dive bar, like cheeseburger on the street and, you know, roadside tacos, and then going to a nice restaurant to some fancy event. Right. And just seeing the full picture is like, if I could just do that, really, if I could take over Anthony Bourdain's travel show, that'd be awesome. But
right. All of us, we all wish that. So like, is it more for that company now that you're working for with this mezcal? Is it like sampling it to people or going around to new venues and see like if this venue fits the brand, or are you just promoting the brand itself? Like, hey, this is what we're about, or like, what, I guess like what specifically are you being like asked to do for the company? And with that, you're being able to travel and stuff too. So
so it's like brand development and sales. So going out and like building brand awareness for like, hey, this is the product, this is what we do. And then trying to find, like what places do we fit in and more of the sales motion. but I'm like, I think I'm the 12th person on the team.
Okay.
Like I was sitting there talking to the founder, which for anybody that's worked in corporate America, like that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
It's like the startup game.
Okay.
But just like, if I were thinking of like a tech startup, it's like, I want nothing to do with that. But the
Right.
fact that this is like, you know, a craft product made down in Oaxaca.
Oh, really?
Like they
It's
were
in
even
Oaxaca
like, oh
too?
yeah, you go down there, meet the team. I was like, this is everything. I get to like go down and
Yeah.
San Juan del Rio, Oaxaca. Like this is everything I wanted.
Yeah, that'd be
So
amazing.
it's tough to put a label on it. And I'm sure like stuff will change in the future. But for right now, just getting that like more human approach to
Yeah.
just going out and working with people is
It sounds like a
huge.
great opportunity. It sounds like a really fun job. So congrats on that, man.
Yeah,
And,
we'll see how it goes. I might be popping by.
yeah.
Hey,
We're gonna have to bleep out that for like 3 times.
Place that should not be named.
Yeah, it's all right.
yeah, but it's interesting, and it's just more of that approach. Like at the end of the day, you need money, and
Yeah.
but then there's like in a perfect world, what I would want to do is I can't even answer that. Just like be me, go out, eat and drink, and
Right.
Yeah, right.
like
Right.
somehow get paid for it.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
that'd be sick. So like this is a good merger for like I didn't put a label on anything. Like when I was working at High West in Utah, that was a good transition into like exposure to the spirits industry for me because I
Yeah.
just like the people coming up with products.
Yeah,
But this is a good segue into like me as a person just living life, going out and experiencing culture and food and drinks, then like kind of doing that for work too.
yeah,
Because that's what I realized through like this exercise of trying to do like, well, who am I? What do I want to do? It's like, well, what if I'm just me and there is no like this one
Yeah,
singular
yeah.
job? So
we want to hire you because you're you. You're
Yeah,
like, all
right.
right, cool.
Yeah.
I think
I'm
I
really good at being me.
I think I qualify for being me. Yeah, I mean that sounds like a great job. Are they hiring?
yeah. But in today's market, you'd go like, I'm the best person qualified at being me. It's like, well, we actually found someone
Yeah.
else who would do it
Yeah.
for cheaper.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that's it sounds like you kind of cracked the code on that, man. That's pretty cool.
Well, we'll see. It's, I mean, with anything, any job I've had coming in, it's just like,
Promise you the world.
yeah, it's
and
like,
then-
this is good. The grass is always greener.
Yeah,
Like I did
yeah.
it. Give it 6 months. I see this one, it's being like challenging you in the right way. I hate being bored and hate like there's no growth. And that's what for me, like, sorry, the bar which
The
shall not be
industry,
named
Yeah.
was so fun while I was having that like, okay, but I'm here to do music.
Yeah.
And I could go figure that out. But as soon as I was like, that's not really what I want to do, I was then faced with the realization like, oh shit, this is it. Like I gotta find something
Yeah.
else. 'Cause
Yeah.
then it gets real dark real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that, man. And there's like nothing wrong if that's what you want to do, just like be in the industry like that. That's fine. But like I feel the same way too, where if I wasn't doing stand up, acting, podcast
Mhm.
stuff, and then I just had that, I would be like, ugh. I had that like one of the things that like got me into construction was like you're building shelter for the populace, right? Like that's
Yeah.
like, a cool thing to do because you're actually, and then like obviously the gratification of like seeing something, built when you walk away and stuff, but like just the cog in the system and shit. Like I worked at a grocery store when I was a kid, and there was like people that like also worked there when they were in high school and they never left. And I was always like not judging, but judging. So I'm like, this is it? You just fucking like, you just did this forever. And like, and then like some of my buddies would fucking always clown me like, oh, old man Klein, you'd be working at the grocery store until you fucking, I'm like, that ain't gonna be me, man. But I worked there for like 4 years because it was like, I worked there throughout high school and shit. But I just knew that there was like, always wanted something more to that. And again, too, nothing wrong if you want to do that, but like, just like doing the same fucking stocking shelves and like the same, bullshit small talk, with people.
Well, even like any other job, like going back to the military, people all like the reason it's hard to get out, especially as an officer. It's not like, oh, your contract's up, get out. Like depending on the situation, there's a whole bunch of paperwork. Like you have to submit for a year early. In both Gloria and I's case, like we got told no. She had to come. We were in France on a big Euro trip. She got called being like, hey, so you're actually not getting out of the army. You're getting recalled for 6 more months. And she was like I have a job, and they're like, well, you better tell them that you don't have a job now. But like everyone always says, if you do 10 years, you do 20 because you already made it halfway, and there's all these benefits. And that for me is like, I don't want to say that's like hell, or like I don't want to go that extreme.
The juice isn't worth the squeeze.
Yeah, but like when I look at people, it's like, you've done that for 37 years.
Yeah.
Sometimes if it's something really cool and interesting and it's constantly new, like it affords you the ability to go meet new people and push yourself, I get it. But for people, it's like the same thing, whether it's, 10 years, 20 years in some professional industry, or like I was stocking shelves for 20 years.
Yeah.
Like, there is so much more out there, and like you don't think to like go experience it. You didn't want to move. Like there's even the US, like the US is huge. You could get like any ecosystem, any climate, like the diversity of people. Like you don't want to go experience. I go through that, especially during COVID. Like every day I'd watch something on like, the Cuban population in Miami. I'm like, shit, what am I doing? I should move to Miami. And then you go up to Alaska, and it's like, why don't I have a cabin in Alaska? And it's like, it's real negative actually. But like, you want it all. Like you want to experience everything.
Well, hearing about like your like lifestyle and the things that you've experienced is kind of inspiring, I think, for people to hear that, and myself to hear how kind of motivated you are and how you are able to move around and not be so complacent with where you are, which is it's cool. It's like not a lot of people could do that. Like the biggest thing I did was move to California, and I'm kind of like been planted here for like 16 years, and I'm very in that mindset of like, okay, I need a job, I need to pay my bills, and having that security has always been that thing that's always kind of kept me from living the nomad kind of life and being able to kind of like, just float around and travel and do all this stuff, because I'm afraid of not having that stability. And if, you're able to do that and not like have a complete mental breakdown, that's like a superpower.
Just a partial.
Like I admire that. I think that's like something to aspire to be more aligned with. Like I think most people would look at your story and say like, man, that's like, I should be living more in that kind of line,
Well, anytime somebody's told us that, because Gloria and I are kind of similar, and like there's still plenty more I want to do. I initially took it as like patronizing, like, somebody there, I had friends like making like 200 grand, be like, oh, but I'm super jealous of you. It's like, all right, buddy. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. But like you start to own up to it, like, you know what? Yeah, we made it work. And if I would have stuck with Amazon, I'm sure I'd be getting some fat salary now with benefits, like my stock would have vested. But I'm like, ugh, that sounds so, it still sounds so terrible. And that's what kind of drives me to like, okay, I know I made the right decision.
It kind of like pulls you back and is like, all right, like those are just like, that's just like stuff and numbers, and like, what is life actually about? Like, like,
that's a question.
When you're 80, are you gonna be like, man, I wish I would have put more overtime in, and I wish I did this? Because I had that in my family. With my grandfather, would always he was a great guy and traveled all over, and he was kind of a nomad for a larger portion of his life. But still would be like, I put in so much time at work, and I did all this. I did, I worked so many hours overtime, and accumulated to like 5 years or something, some like crazy number. And I'm like, man, like, but like you could have done so many other cool things apart from like working at your factory job and putting in all those hours. And I reflect on myself being like, man, like what else could I be doing? And like, I'm always like one, like little thing away from, I think, from like pulling the trigger on it, because I think if I do
suicide.
if I ever do decide to actually kind of pull the trigger, figuratively speaking, and go in my truck and travel, like no one will ever see me again. Like I'll just gonna be gone. Like and it's like that like balance where I'm like, I don't know what to do.
The legend of the man with
like that tug of war in your head where you're like, what do I do? Like, but
the mobile mullet.
The mobile, the mullet mobile.
Someone check that Instagram account right now. We got snatch it.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah,
that's my dad left. He worked for the state in Pennsylvania, and I remember when he retired, he had like 390 sick days accumulated. And I was like, at the time working corporate, I was like, I've never had more than 2 PTO days accumulate, because I'm just like, I've gone negative. Like, I'm taking that. Like, what did you do? Like, I don't know if he got paid out for it, but even if you do, like, it's not worth it. Like, take the sick days.
Dude, I never call in sick. Ever.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
And that's nothing against people that do that kind of shit. I just like, that's just something I've always had. Like, you know, if I'm on a schedule, I will show up and shit. And like when my ex got in a car accident, I didn't go to work that day, but and then COVID happened. And then like the second you had like a sniffle, like, oh, you got to stay home. I'm like, well, I guess I have to stay home now. I mean, it's just, it'd be rude for me to try to get anyone else sick and shit. But like, I remember going to every job I ever had, just fucking dying. You know what I mean? And just like this, I'm probably for sure 100% still contagious, but like, I got to be here because I'm on the schedule, you know? And then like the PTO, like you can cash it out and stuff, but dude, a whole year worth of PTO.
Yeah. I don't know how or why he did that, but yeah, 6 days. I'm the same way. Like, it's almost, especially when you're in the service industry, like if your absence is going to cause problems for other people, it's not like, oh, I'm sick, sorry, I'm not going to answer my emails today. It's like, well, no, I'm sick, which now means Eric gets all my tables. Like, woo, I'm sure he's thrilled. Like, that sucks.
Yeah, that is like kind of like the team mentality in that business where there's like, don't fuck me, dude. You better fucking show up. And especially if you go out drinking with your friends and you're like, all right, we all fucking go to work tomorrow at like 6 o'clock or 6:30 or some shit. So fucking don't fuck around too much.
That's also kind of like the cool thing about it too, because it is like if you are good with working with other people and like a team environment, like the service industry is that. Like, it's no different than a football team, baseball team, or any
I've been
other,
saying
like,
it for years.
going to
The
war.
same thing as actual service. Like, you know, you both take orders, you both wear uniforms.
I mean, you're not wrong. There'd be some nights like I left the night shift and I'd be like, that was like going to battle. And I like mean that obviously, like, yes, when you're getting shot at and shit, but like there definitely is that team mentality, especially when it's kind of like you have some like piece of shit customers in and you're just like, boom, we did it. Like, we finished it.
Yeah, there's a camaraderie there for sure that happens rather quickly, depending on how soon that first bombardment of horrible people come, you know. So,
and we talked about the managers know too, like, you know, when they pick up the phone, if you were to call in sick, they'd be like, oh shit, Tony's sick, versus some other people. Not actually pointing fingers, I don't know who it is, but like figuratively, there are some people, I've heard them do it, where they're like, she's not sick. Like, are you kidding me? Like, absolutely not. Like, they know.
They're hungover.
Yeah. Or it's like they just don't feel like it, and some bullshit excuse.
Yeah. They put themselves before the team and don't think about the team. Yeah. And it's like that with everything though.
I feel like in this city, there's just like that, you know, I'm the lead actor, actress in everything. So it's just like, I'm not going to work today. It's like, doesn't matter what. And it's just like but you're like part of the system. And now you're just
they don't
fucking
think about
not
that.
at all. Dude. You see that with driving and stuff too.
Yeah. No, it's a weird time. And I always tell myself, like, you know, you're out there in the real world working, and especially when you meet like-minded people who kind of do the same thing, and everyone has their nuances. And there's plenty of them in Los Angeles, like the Hollywood area. You go out and you see that like interaction at a coffee shop where someone's ordering and you're like, you exist? Like, did you just order that? And are you bitching that the dude, like the guy taking your order doesn't speak good English?
I said dash of cinnamon.
Yeah.
This is 2 dashes. Yeah.
Like, you're asking if the pistachio milk is organic or not.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Which is why that decision to just jump in my truck and
I know,
disappear. Right? It's like, the more you're around people on like a regular basis, the more you're like, I don't, you know, there's a lot of like just things that I don't like about people in general. And, you know, when you have that time to be alone and time to kind of reflect on your own life and be away from all that like kind of negativity and the stupidity that you see constantly on a daily basis, you're like, oh, okay. Like, maybe like more separation from lots of people is a good thing, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things I know we share common ground on, like getting out and getting into nature.
Yeah.
For me is like, I've never had a time where I'm like, get me back to society like right now. Like, yeah, it's always nice to come home and especially get a hot shower. But like, even if you just like get an Airbnb in Joshua Tree for the weekend and go and you're not on your phones and you look up and you see the stars. And yeah, some of the weight or that just like pressure you have and the stress of just like, is there going to be someone passed out on my doorstep? Am I going to see someone like pissing on the corner?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, no, I just get to chill. There's a coyote in the distance. I'm like, oh, this is lovely.
It really is like hard to explain if like to people that don't go outdoors or don't like go and do outdoorsy kind of things. There is like something to be said about that like, I don't know, it's just like a vibe, a feeling of just serenity and calmness that you just can't get really anywhere else other than nature. I feel it's just very like genuine and real. It like, I don't know, it's just like it does, it like slows you down and just makes you like kind of just observe things for what they are and not have to like be on your phone and think about like, you know, what you're going to do today and work and all this stuff. And trying to get out there and doing that kind of stuff is always like on the forefront of my mind. It's just finding the time to do it. And then that's that balance of like, okay, now like, I got to take off days of work to go this. And then like, it's just this whole constant battle of like trying to have that in my life in some way, shape or form. And then also taking care of your responsibilities and things you have to do too. So
I always think about it like cleaning an air filter, like right before you do it. Yeah. It's like something doesn't feel right. And then you pop that open and you just see, holy shit. Like, I don't even know how air's flowing here. Like the lint thing on the dryer. But then once you like take the trip and there's a whole lead up to it. It's like, oh, I could take PTO or I could take days off. I don't really want to. And it's going to be a whole thing. It's just easier not to. But once you pull the trigger on it.
Totally.
And then you go out there and like you clean that filter and then it just runs so much smoother. You're like, whoa, I didn't even know I was carrying all this shit around, this extra baggage. And then you come back refreshed. You promptly get beat down again.
Yeah,
but like it's a cycle. That's why you do it.
Yeah, I've never regretted it. You know, I've never regretted like any of those times being out there. I'm always just like, man, if anything, I'm like, all right, how long can I live out here?
Yeah, you never take a trip and you're like looking at your watch on your phone. This is stupid. I'm like, no, that's the ocean right there. This is pretty chill.
Yeah,
this is awesome.
It's like the best.
Do I have to go back? I don't think so.
Well, they say like, the best things in life are free. And that's like always a reminder of that whenever I'm out there, I'm always like, man, fuck, what a true statement that is. Because this shit didn't cost me nothing apart from the gas money to get here. And like, it's just, it's so freeing and inexpensive.
Well, one of the things I wanted to get your guys' take on both like a personal and professional level, like we're at a weird point through COVID and now like social media for me has been like such a teetering, like super positive, lean into it versus like the most negative thing out there. Because you'll see all these people that you'll get inspiration from, like, oh, there's someone doing van life. Yeah. And oh, there's someone like a musician making it, just like making music, or even someone that's like out at their local coffee shop. But then the more you dig into it, it's like, well, fuck, I'm never good. How do these people make it work? Like, and they're posting like, hey, do this drop shipping job online. I make $200,000 every week off it. And I'm like, what the fuck? How? Like, I can't do this. Yeah. So it's like that weird edge. And I'm sure with comedy, you see some of it, like what used to be like, oh, everyone's out doing their thing. And then you see like, oh, cool, he's doing it. And then you start to question. It's like, wait, what the fuck? Like, how are they doing this? They're driving a new Mercedes. Like, I know how much you make. Like, how does this make any sense?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I try not to really get too much in like in that like jealousy or trying to keep up with that. You know what I mean? Like, I appreciate everyone else's hustle, and I appreciate my trajectory and where I'm at and stuff. And like, I do that again too. I think half of the reason why I'm like happy in the present is because like I have a kid and a couple near-death experiences, right? So just kind of always just like, all right, man, every fucking extra day you have is a blessing. And if you're always constantly trying to push the needle and get in the direction that you're going, you're on track to get you where you want to be eventually. But enjoy the process, because that's what it is, man. You know what I mean? Like, once you get to the whatever your goal is, if your nose is too much down to the fucking grindstone and shit, you're not going to actually enjoy what it took to get there and stuff. So like little victories, little leveling ups here and there and stuff, like And then also too, it's really easy to kind of like get jealous of like someone else's success or like their financial income and stuff. But then you realize that like, I'm happy just like having like my, Oldsmobile that has like a fucking primer spot on the paint job, barely starts all the time. But like when it does work, I'm like, fuck yeah. Like I don't need a Lamborghini or a house in the hills to really be happy. It just like give me, a significant portion of my wages off of like the art that I want to do. And I'll figure out how to make the, the other end of it and shit. That's it. I think that's like from my perspective, like the success level and stuff. I do judge people that try to like flex on like their success on Instagram or any social media. I'm just like, all right, dude, like, what is this for? Like, really, are you that insecure? Like, there's a lot of that shit. That's why I really like my social media presence is fucking like lackluster, which is something I need to do more on the business side of like of comedy, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
I think the hardest part is being yourself and being consistent. And those are things that the consistency is something that I've kind of had to kind of learn to do with this podcast, because the guests that we have on, yourself, like I'll post, a reel every single day for a week. So everybody will, get a little clip of it and then posting the full video and all that stuff. But as far as the people that I watch and the things that kind of make me rethink social media is all the thing that they have in common is that they're all just like being themselves. Like I don't like a lot of the people I follow aren't like flexing about stuff or like this or like, I have this. They may have a lot of views and a lot of stuff, but it'll be like some guy that I follow that plays guitar and he sings and he plays in his like bedroom, but he's got a great voice and he plays great music and it's nothing fancy about it, but and then I go back on his page, like, how many years he's been doing this, and it's the same thing. He was just being himself, and then it just kind of like grew, and people that were connecting with that kind of found his audience, you know? And I think that's with everybody that I follow. Like there's nothing like super crazy or like flashy about any of them. If anything, they're just like kind of goofy, like people that are just being themselves. And that's what attracts me to anybody that I really follow or watch or kind of, or listen to. Is like, okay, how real are they? Are they a real person? Am I watching like an act? Like, is this all fake? Is this all for streams and views or whatever? Like, or is this person just genuinely being their goofy self, like, just unfiltered and letting you in on, what it is to like know that person or a little part of them, or if not all the part of them.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I see the accounts, why I follow them. That's, I feel, why they do have a big following, is because they are just being their genuine self and not really caring about all the, the bullshit that comes along with social media. But on top of being yourself, I think there is something to be said about being consistent on those platforms, because you're just giving people more of an opportunity to get to know who you are as a person. And then that just attracts more of the people that are aligned with what you're about.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's what I've been going through. I was never big on social media to begin with.
Yeah, same. I don't think all three of us are probably the same. Like, you're just like, whatever, there's a picture of my dog. I like my dog.
It's literally, I see you've seen my Instagram.
Yeah.
But I've been wanting to get back into it just as like me holding myself accountable of like, hey, I think I go out and do some pretty cool things, and I want to push myself to go do more, and like posting about it on Instagram in that authentic way is just like, hey, this is what I have going on for whoever's out there, or for me, because I look back and be like, oh, cool. Yeah, this is what I've done. Sweet.
Yeah, it can inspire yourself. Like I do the same thing. I'll look at my feet. I'm like, man, it's been like 2 years since I go on like a really badass backpacking trip. I'm like, okay, like I need to do that again. Like okay, you kind of, or like I want to go to this place, and then it's like an online diary.
Yeah,
it is like, so even if it's not for anybody else, it's still for you, and it's good for you to reflect on like things that you've experienced and that you've done. And I think if you look at social media that way, as for your own enlightenment and memories, not so much what other people are thinking, that it's going to benefit everyone better.
But then you see that one account or that one post with the girl just like flashing her tits. It was just like top 3 songs you didn't know you needed. And you're just like, I can assure you I don't need this right now.
I feel bad for every fucking chick that does that. I'm just like, this is what you've reduced yourself to. It's just fucking like cleavage jiggling type shit. And it's like, look, I'll look because but they're just kind of like, damn, that's so fucking sad. And that's how sad like our society's become. We're just like, that's it. That's just all you can bring to the fucking table. The same way I feel like I can do better than just stocking shelves someplace. You can't do better than just shaking what you got asset wise because that's gonna fucking fade real quick. Like you got like
though, it's like there's an audience for everybody out there, and then like that's the audience. There's like a portion of the population that's about that, and then just like I don't know.
Yeah. We got to wrap this up though. So I think time.
Well, all right. So this is the end of the podcast. This is where we'd like to kind of give the guest a chance to promote or talk about anything that they're doing, or an Instagram handle that people can reach you at. If you want to reach out and find out what you're doing and what you're up to.
Yeah, so I got a few things. Instagram at Alex_Bedrin. If you want to see some cute dogs. And like I said, I'm going to put more stuff on there, just me being me.
Yeah.
Whether it's interesting to you or not, I think it's cool. And then you'll see more Agua Mágica Mezcal.
All right.
Cool Mezcal, San Juan del Rio, Oaxaca, Mexico. I think it's an awesome product, awesome story for what we're trying to do.
Possibly a new sponsor.
Yeah. Huh? New sponsor, possibly you.
Not a sponsor.
No,
yet.
So I'm excited about that. More to come. New York and California, you could definitely get it. For anywhere else right now, we'll be there. But it's the next opportunity. Moving from whiskey to mezcal, so still staying drunk and moving along. That's
got to get a backpacking trip in before the season ends. That could be good. That could be good for the social media and all that stuff.
Think
too.
about the content people will see. That'd be great.
Just shitting in the woods,
like nature intended.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Tony Klein.
You can follow me at Tony Klein Comedian if you're not already doing it. And my website is TonyKleinComedian.com, which you'll have show dates and all that good stuff. I'm also starting to try to do some more content too, because I build a lot of like furniture. If you want some custom furniture, you hit me up, man. I'll give you a TKO, Tony Klein Original. But I'm trying to actually do more of like the time lapse videos and stuff that I do, because I build all this shit and I'll like tape half the stuff and I don't actually ever like compile it into making like little reels and stuff. So
it looks killer.
Stay tuned. Thank you. Yeah. Eric.
So you can find me on Instagram at Eric Rustler. You can go to ericandtonyshow.com. We have t-shirts for sale, beer mugs, sweatshirts, unisex too. So they're like nice and comfy. This is the brand shirt. I think it's like American Apparel stuff. You can also go to YouTube, The Eric and Tony Show, to find the full episode of this podcast. You can go on Spotify, listen to the full episode. They're posted every Monday. So every Monday you can listen to everything on Spotify, YouTube, and then every day I post a reel, a TikTok clip, or a YouTube short on all the platforms for the podcast. So you want to follow along and see what we're talking about, or just get a little 60-second clip, you can check that out too. But yeah, that's it. Thanks again, Alex, for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Great convo, and we'll have you back again for sure, man.
Oh yeah.
Thanks, Mark and Petty Cash, for having us. And my kid in the background.